Hello, welcome to the JodoCast. I'm Joe. I'm going to review this game. Star Wars Dark Side Rising, a 2 to 4 player cooperative dice game from the OP, the OP. I don't know how it's pronounced. This game is kind of the Star Wars version of the OP's Rising series. There was one called Thanos Rising, which is about Marvel. There's Death Eaters Rising, which is Harry Potter. This is the Star Wars version. So I'm going to try and keep this review quick because you're all busy and have important things to do. More important than watching me talk about a Star Wars board game that's not even available in North America. We're going to do a quick run through of how the game plays, and then I'll talk about the things I like, things I don't like, things that work, things that don't work, all that stuff. Okay, so we're all set up here. I am the blue team. I've got Cassian because blue team starts with Cassian. There's also the green team where you start with Hera. There is a purple team where you start with Leia, and a red team where you start with Luke. Each team has its own little special ability that almost never comes into play. I've got Cassian. Start of your turn, you take your little blue team token, and we say, where are we going to go? We go to Scarif, Edu, or Jeddah. I'll go to Scarif. So first thing we do is we say where we're going. Then we take the Death Star die, roll it. We got red, so we take one of these counters, mark it on the red one, which is the ion drive reactor. There's a bunch of these, so that's what that does. And then you take the Vader die. Well, the Vader die, Vader is either going to go left, points over there. He could go right. He could roll the Death Star die, which means you just roll that again and add another one on there. Or he could get the Vader symbol, which means he stays where he is. He also stays where he is if he rolls this one. After Vader's done moving, whether he stayed put or not, he hurts everybody in that location. So we're going to hurt Garland Drays, hurt this U-Wing, and since I'm there, he hurts me as well. And everybody else on my team, currently there are none, would also get damaged. Then any Imperials do their thing. Darth Vader's at this location added damage to the most damaged rebels on all players' teams. So Cassian's my most damaged. Thrawn also puts the damage on him. If we had rolled this die, rather than just the Imperials at Vader's location activating, all the Imperials around the circle would activate. So Krennic would activate, this ATACT would activate. Bad news. Now the bad stuff's over. Now you get to roll your dice. This is the meat of the game. It's kind of a neat puzzle of guessing the odds on your dice and trying to figure out where to assign them in order to maximize your team. It sort of feels almost like a deck builder, the way you're trying to make the most efficient engine, but you're trying to build your team most efficiently. You essentially get as many rerolls as you have dice. This isn't like Yahtzee or King of Tokyo. Each die favors one of 4 different results. So the red die favors this kind of explosion result. They all have names, but I can't ever remember them. The blue die favors this kind of tactical grid result. Each one, so there'll be a double. The double for this symbol is only on the green dice. The double for this symbol is only on the red dice. So each die favors its own result. So the colors matter and they'll affect your odds.
Never tell me the odds.
So you roll your dice. In this case, I have starting with 3 red and 1 blue. Cassian will give me an extra blue die or an extra red die if I get another blue rebel on my team. In this case, the only one out there is a U-Wing. So I roll my dice. And then I have to decide how I want to assign these dice. I think actually I'm going to try and put a damage on Thrawn. So I'm going to assign this symbol there. And now I can assign these dice elsewhere on this location. I can only do it the 3 I'm at. Or if I had a character with something I could spend it on, like Obi-Wan, he lets you assign dice to his card to trigger that ability. But since I've got nothing else I want to do, I'm just going to take the remaining dice and roll them again. Now I'm going to take this one and put it on Thrawn, and this one and put it on Thrawn. So I've completed that. I have one die left. I could re-roll it. I've got nothing left to do with it, so I just get rid of it. So Thrawn ends up taking a damage. When you damage somebody, you get to take one of these tokens, which could be this. I can just spend and use it as an extra dice result. There's a bunch of different ones, just different dice results. This one lets you remove something like this. Let's say I actually had a nice big dice pool. You roll your dice and say, oh, I'm going to assign these. And then you get to take what's left and roll them. If you see, oh, I can't assign any, you just have to get rid of one. So every time you roll, you either have to assign dice or just kill one until you're out. And then you're out and you see, if I've gotten all of these, he's going to take a damage. If I've gotten all of these symbols, he gets to come out of my team. So at the end of your turn, you check to see if any character has all their damage tokens filled up, they're dead, and they get replaced. If any of the Death Star things are full, those come off, it gets flipped. So now, if I were to roll red, rather than adding a token, I have to follow what this says. These alliance tokens, can't draw them or use them. Some of these can get pretty nasty, like the purple one when it flips. Remove a damage from all Imperials. And that's your turn, then it goes to the next player, and they'll say, you take your little marker back. The next player says, I'm going to go over to Jodo. They roll the Death Star die. They roll the Vader die, do that sort of stuff. And you carry on until you win, or you lose.
Win or lose. Those are your two options. Win or lose.
You win if you kill 7 Imperials. You lose, much like a lot of co-op games, a lot of ways to lose. You lose if all of the Death Star components become operational. You lose if 10 rebels are killed. That includes anybody from your team or just people who get caught in the crossfire out here. You lose if all players on one team, or all the characters on one team are dead. There's a lot of ways to lose. Okay, that's the quick and dirty on how you play. Let's talk about the things I don't like about this game. Most of the critiques I have about this game are things I just think that Death Eaters Rising did better. For one, the symbols on the dice, they're not intuitive and they're not easy to call out. In the Harry Potter game, there's, oh, it's a bird, a hat, a wand, a sword. In the Star Wars one, it's grid. We started calling it a boomy, a globe, and a sphincter. They're just not Star Wars-y things. They should have been a rebel symbol, a droid head, a lightsaber, a blaster. Would have been a lot easier to like look at, recognize, and call out. It doesn't like derail the game, but it's could have been better. Another visual design flaw I thought was that, so there's purple team for rebels, and there's also the Empire cards are purple. Just why not make one of them yellow or something? One other thing that's I wouldn't have known had I not played Death Eaters Rising is, in Death Eaters Rising, one of the tokens you get lets you trade characters with another player. It really helps you maximize the efficiency of both of your teams, and it makes you work as a team even more. And that token just doesn't exist in this game, which felt missing, because a lot of time I'm like, oh, if only I could give you this character, and I'll give you the Falcon, so since you have Han and the Falcon work together, I wish I could give you that, but I can't. But you can in Death Eaters. Ways that I think it's better than the Death Eaters one, they actually have artwork instead of just using movie stills. Granted, it looks like they were movie stills that either an artist drew over or they put through a Photoshop filter, but it's still, I mean, it's not like the crazy awesome art you get from Fantasy Flight games, but it's better than just a picture. This game doesn't have much in the way of theme, which usually for me, I really want my Star Wars games to like let me tell a story with it, which doesn't really happen here too much, but I'll give it a pass because it's a really fun dice puzzle builder thing. and I never found myself like being bored by it, so I guess I'll let it slide on that one. What I like about the game, the Vader figure is actually surprisingly nice. I thought the Voldemort one from the Death Eaters game was kind of cheap, and so I wasn't expecting much out of the Vader one. But turns out it's actually got multiple colors on it. It's really nice and hefty. This is a really good 2-player co-op game. I got a feeling more than 2 players would slow it down a lot. I haven't played with more than 2 players on this one because I haven't seen anybody else in months. I feel like more players might slow it down. It feels really good and snappy with 2 players. This game really snowballs. You start out with only 1 player on your team, nothing's happening, and eventually things start snowballing really big because you can build your team, and all of a sudden, oh, this character lets me get an extra die because I have this character, and this guy likes it if I go to Jodo, and all this, and this guy lets me flip these dice, and all of a sudden your team is huge and it's efficient and it's running really well. But by that point, the bad stuff is already starting to stack up. Oh, the Death Star is about to come online, and all of these Imperials are hurting us and we're about to die. And by the end of the game, you're juggling, trying to kill the Imperials, but trying to manage the Death Star and trying to keep your guys from dying and trying to recruit some other guys. And it turns into a really fun, chaotic mess. It's not even a mess. It's kind of, it feels like it's just barely in your control until you either cinch it at the end or it slips away from you and you lose. It really kind of ramps up by the end of the game. A lot of times it can get really tense and come down to just the one dice roll. If you have an aversion to dice and chance, maybe don't play this game because it has those moments where you want to stand up and you roll it and you get, it all comes down to that one roll, and that can be really fun. If you can build your team right, you can get a lot of control, but it does come down to being a dice game. My final verdict, I think this game is really fun. I really like it. It has some visual issues, but otherwise it's actually pretty. I think it looks nice. Another visual thing I really like is just the inside of the box is printed over here. Usually there's nothing there or there's some advertisements, but this has got some nice Star Wars printing inside the box. If you don't live in Europe, should you bother importing this? Probably. I mean, if you like Harry Potter or Marvel, maybe you could just, get that faster. It's going to take you like a month or so to import this if you buy it on eBay or whatever, but if you got patience and you prefer Star Wars over Harry Potter and Marvel, and you want a fun co-op game, I'd say, yeah, it's worth it. In the end, it's extremely similar to Death Eaters Rising, and I would assume it's almost the same as Thanos Rising as well. So while there are some little differences that make the games stand out from each other, they're essentially the same dice puzzle engine. So don't think, you got to get the Star Wars one. Unless you're like me and you got to get the Star Wars one. I think it's a good game. Import it or buy it or whatever. Tell Hasbro to loosen up its licensing agreement so other companies can make cool games like this. I like it. Thanks for watching. Still working on perfecting my review craft, but this is what you get today.